Hello, KFC SuperCoaches. Welcome to a very special edition of the Game Day podcast. Firstly, because there's not actually a game tonight, but it's the Magic Round special. The Colonel has delivered as well. You'll be able to see that in a sec, but let's talk some SuperCoach first. Rob Sutherland, what's the biggest issue facing your team?
Cash, Thomas, cash. I didn't start with your extra 500k cap dispensation, and I missed out on a few of the good cheapies. Connolly, Lemuelu, didn't get him at all. Calm Pereira, sold him before he scored a try. I need to start generating some cash, so that's my problem. And
Joe Nadav, former champ and KFC lover as well.
Extreme lover, and mate, big fanboy today with Rob. I've listened to you for many, many years. Had a few drinks to get them, how to be on the panel with you, mate. I'm always in the morning walks listening to you in the morning, so
there we go.
Career moment.
Oh, I didn't realise we hadn't done a show together. This is great.
First time. Mate, my problem is I don't know who to trade. I'm stuck with Reece, well, not saying stuck, I've got Reece Walsh, Cleary and Cody Walker all with high, big break even, so...
Cry me a river.
Yeah, but like you got no cash, so do I flip Cleary to a Moses, do I go Cody Walker to Dylan Brown and bank some money to upgrade elsewhere, so... Jeez.
Yeah,
the extra day off will help me.
I think the biggest issue for me is kind of similar to you. It's whether to go two cheapies this week in Peachy and the other one. Buller. And then you've got two good cheapies coming up next week as well. So there's the potential to go four cheapies in 2 weeks and basically throw your score for the next couple of weeks, but then have literally $1 million up your sleeve for the buy rounds coming up. So I'm considering going four cheapies in the next couple of weeks, just so I can have a lot of cash up my sleeve.
Yeah, tough week, yeah.
I have zero impulse control, Tom. I've never been good at planning for the future. You know, I don't go and bury my nuts. I eat them when I can. So I'm chasing points. I'm trading up. I'm going Joey Manu and the crazy horse, Corey Horsburgh. I'm just chasing. Yeah, I'll get the cheapies next week. I don't love the two this week. I don't love Peachy. I don't love Buller. Well, I do like Buller, but I don't like the position.
So it's time to mention what's in front of us here. We've got the Friday Night Footy Feast. You can get it free delivery every Friday with the KFC app and KFC.com. And now that we've got that out of the way, we're allowed to officially get stuck into it. So I'm going to go to a sting right now. Let's pimp your teams. Right, so I'm sure there are plenty of questions coming through. I haven't had a chance to check yet.
Yeah, I got one here from Mitch Kelly. Last reserve, Taruva, Croker or Chance?
Oh, it's got to be Chance. Chance is a legitimate play in your starting 4-centre wing. I mean, before he got the HIA issues. For me, that's a no-brainer.
I'd watch the 11-day turnaround because it's on the cusp.
That's the only issue, I suppose.
Check late mail, but Chance is pretty much a borderline keeper.
If Chance is out, then you go Croker, the goal kicker, right?
Yeah. How do you find Taruva outside Sticky Hands Peachy? I mean, you had Tunga the same sort of thing, and he scored 2 tries off kicks for memory. So
look, it's a big issue, and I'm selling Taruva this week for Buller. I think that's a decent trade because you're going a peak cheapie to a cheapie, but it does depend. Buller depends on your team situation.
Who are your fullbacks?
Now it's going to be Buller and Tedesco.
Fair enough. Yeah, I guess team dependent then, obviously.
Yeah, exactly. Buller, you don't like him?
I do. I've got Teddy and Turbo, and I'm not interested in selling either of them. So.
Okay, same. Well, Mosh Wolf says the same thing here. Do I go Val Holmes to Buller? Was that something you would do?
Yeah, I got rid of Val Holmes just before he scored 175, you know. But then he went 28 the week after. So, I think with Origin coming up, Holmes is a guy I could move on. Yeah.
Question for you here, Rob. Thoughts on Corey Horsburgh?
I mean, I think I ran the stats out. I should have looked them up before we came on. That's what a professional would do, but I didn't. So I think the last 3 games he's played 70 and 71 minutes. He's got base of like 60.
You're spot on, actually.
Yeah, thank you. It's skewed, right, because he scored a try, which obviously he's not going to do all the time, but he also threw like 4 or 5 successful offloads.
That's correct.
And that's not really his game. He's got a bit of an offload game, but not 5, right? Yeah. That said, dual position, 530k, 60 base if he's playing 70 minutes. That.
Plays around 13?
Plays around 13. I mean, there's talk that he's going to make Origin, but I can't see it. Not with that pack. He'd need 3 players to get injured at least.
I do agree.
Look, while we're talking about, we're taking questions from the SuperCoach community. There's one legend of the SuperCoach community doing it a bit tough at the moment, the SuperCoach Sponge. There's been a GoFundMe page set up for him by Adrianosaurus Rex. I think the best way to get there is just Google GoFundMe and Adrian Delaney. Everyone's getting around to it. You look at the people who've donated and it's just a who's who of the SuperCoach community. Rob?
I love it. I mean, I think Ben's just a positive bloke on Twitter who's, he's had some tough breaks, but only ever comes out and with good vibes, right? And I like seeing the SuperCoach community, get around, get around people. And, I donated and I'd urge others to if they're in the position to.
Yeah, Ben's a lovely guy. When I first joined Twitter after winning SuperCoach, he was the first guy that sort of reached out to me. And he was doing just fundraisers for random people, like sending people tickets to games and what have you. So, Ben, you're a champion. Keep doing what you're doing.
It looks like they're watching right now, actually. So hopefully one of them will drop the link to the GoFundMe page in the comments here, so you can get to it straight away. For now, let's do the burning issues. So Friday night footy segment, we're going to get stuck into this at some stage. It's obviously no game tonight, but we've got the Bulldogs v the Raiders. Word floating around from Tim Williams, our early mail guy, that Carraz won't be playing this weekend.
Yeah, I heard he's in doubt. I probably do want him to come play as a Bulldog supporter, but secondly, so he can start leaking some of that cash from that affected injury game. So he'll be very juicy come round 14 after the bye. Hopefully he'll drop another 100k. But yeah, I guess watch the late mail.
As juicy as a KFC nugget.
Juicy as this crispy strip there. Almost fell over trying to get.
Joe's a pro. Like we couldn't see because of the stick.
I was eating before.
Yeah, Tommy almost went down. Like
Mischat. I'm telling you. Carl Oluwapu. Very big watch for him for next week. I think that Katoa to him will be one of the most popular trades next week.
Yeah, I'm all on board that one.
Yeah, I'm definitely on that same trade. I met Oluwapu at the season launch, actually. Very humble kid, and I think he's going to go a long way. He's got the big Andrew Johns chunky bottom, so it'll suit that running game for him.
You're saying Teddy's got a rival for the best buttocks in rugby league?
I said wide.
Oh, wide. Right.
As a chunk.
Okay. Yeah, not as...
No. But just the minutes around him, how many minutes does Josh Reynolds play? Does it stick to 40, 50? Then Josh goes into the back row rotation, so...
I know you and Josh are close, but let's be honest. He'll be suspended soon.
I'm backing him in. I love the passion.
Lucky it didn't happen this week. That's
love
for
the
sure.
passion.
I feel like Oluwapu with his debut, it's just a matter of time before he actually starts in either the 6 or the 7. The other factor there is that Matt Burton has been playing 7. If he plays there one more week, he'll earn dual status. Does that make him stand out for you at all?
Not yet. Not yet. I want to see some good scores. Yeah,
and I think Origin as well, if there's a chance for that number 14 spot in Origin.
Depends
unlikely,
but they use Hines, I think.
Yeah, so that's unlikely. I'd hold.
Also in this game, obviously a lot of Raiders players who are pretty popular at the moment, given that they cover round 13. Joe Tapine, I bought him in last week. It's just a base fest from him. No big attacking stats yet. I feel like surely they come. And it could happen against the Bulldogs, who I know you're a fan, but let's face it, they are depleted big time.
We are in the middle, with Saps, just frustrating. Look, I think his ranges from 55 to 65 every week. Watching the game last week, I mean, the game was in the balance against the Dolphins, and Ricky put him on with like 10 to 15 minutes left to go. But forget SuperCoach, but as a rugby league, I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, look, I find Ricky's rotations a little strange sometimes, but you never know. I mean, Horsburghy's been giving the big minutes there, and Papali being out, I assume he goes and plays Queensland, and maybe Taps gets more minutes there, and he was kind of trying to ease him a bit. But the Dragons were smashed through the middle. Sorry, the Dogs were smashed through the middle by the Dragons. You've got to think the Raiders are going to smash up through the middle again. Sorry, Tommy, I didn't mean to bring that up.
But no, I'm fine with it. It's absolutely true. I want to chat about Jared Croker. With all these cheapies that I'm bringing in, I actually have to play Croker in my 17 this week. I don't feel bad about it, to be honest. I know that he's got a decent base. This was his try on the weekend. Wound back the clock. It was a vintage performance. It was Croker, sort of half a decade ago kind of performance. 60-odd points. I'm happy with that.
Yeah, 2 line breaks probably helped that score and conversions. I didn't bring him in. He's not one for me. The whole What's the fullback's name again? Savage coming
Savage,
back in the
yeah.
wing. That sort of, worries me a little bit. If you got on, fantastic. Ride the wave, I guess.
Yeah, I got on when the BE was so good, and the goal kicking and that he's almost at 300, and Ricky's an emotional guy.
Yeah.
Surely he's going to get him to 300 now. It's not a long-term play, but short-term, and Raiders have great bye coverage.
Yeah. At worst, round 13, then you can move him
maybe
on.
15. He goes all the way to
Well,
15, then move him on. Yeah.
You are a professional, see?
Yeah.
Say yourself short.
Speaking of professionals, you can talk us up in the comments if you would like. And if you hit us with a really good sledge, you'll get the zinger of the week pop up on the screen like that. But no one's getting stuck into us today. There's
It's good vibes, man. It's a good vibes magic round. It's nice.
Lots of compliments coming through. One person has said, hey, Sangster has gone on holidays to Bali with the Newcastle boys. I would actually love that. I would love that. Instead of going magic round this week, I'd love to go to Bali.
It'd be very similar areas, I would think, magic round and Bali.
Similar tattoo levels.
Yeah.
Have we got anything coming through on Facebook?
A lot of questions about Reece Walsh, whether to part ways with him. I'm thinking the same thing. Do I go up to Latrell, even that's before Origin? The biggest question with Walsh is, does he make Origin? I mean, Ponga's not in great form. If he makes Origin, then he's probably want to cash in before he starts to bleed. If he doesn't make Origin, he's handy number for 13, possible VC and C. Thoughts
He's
on
hard
Walsh?
to leave out for Origin, but he does have a tough run coming up. Not so much this week, but then from there it does get tough, particularly that Panthers matchup. I'd be selling. He's leaking cash anyway. Does he make Origin though? Look, Ben Hunt's the 14. He's pretty much got a mortgage on that spot, so I don't think they can quite fit him in unless there are injuries. And I think Ponga's guaranteed. He's done it before for them.
Yeah,
So.
the question is, if you do sell Walsh, who would you go to? Because you're going to go to Tedesco or Latrell, Origin bound, Turbo, Origin bound.
Depends on your
where would
team
you go?
balance, but Buller, you can free up a whole bunch of cash, so I'd be tempted with that.
I'd go Latrell. I know he's going to Origin, but as a non-owner, it's just painful to watch.
is.
Right? He's in such good form, and the goal kicking gives him such a good base. If I was selling Walsh, I'd go Latrell.
The next clash on Friday night, Sea Eagles v the Broncos. You would think the Broncos are really fired up for this on their home magic round. Tommy Turbo is the big question. Looks like he will play. He's passed all his... he's got through all the sessions so far this week, so I think he will play. They're missing Jake Turbo, though, which is a bit of a blow. How do you think this is going to unfold, and VC on Turbo?
We'll take a brief. I mean, I guess VC wouldn't hurt. You're going to captain Hines. I'm actually going to VC Walsh in this game. I just think Jake Trbojevic, Payne Haas coming back from suspension. I just see Reece Walsh, and it's probably a bit of a reluctant sell this week because I think Reece Walsh will sell him and come a punch at a 110, 120 quite easily. He got close to sort of scoring try last week against South, who were pretty stiff. So don't hate the VC, but yeah, not for me. I think Brisbane steamroll them at home.
Look, I think Brisbane probably win the game, but Turbo back is all the difference. For Manly, it's great for my man Garrick because he was lost at centre. He'll be so much better on the wing. With Turbo back, the ball's more likely to come left. I'll be VCing him. I'm not going to sell him either. I get people are jumping off because of the injury issues, but like at the start of the season, he was like 190, 100. The guy's a great at the game. It'll come good.
I mentioned just before that Turbo looks like he will play. Let's do the rest of late mail now.
Let's just go without a stick.
Let's just go with it.
Why not? Straight
I was
in.
hoping I could throw to one so I could get it. Here we go.
Now you can't reach for
I think they're on the KFC in the back room, mate. The producers on the KFC.
Oh, yeah.
Missed the jump.
Don't you upset Antigone, man.
Nah,
Those two
never.
zinger boxes that got delivered for the producers. Oh, I tell you what, they're getting stuck into right now. Late mail. Ben Hunt set to move to hooker. Jaden Sullivan into the halves. Look, neither of these two are particularly Supercoach relevant, but it's a big call from Anthony Griffin, who, I mean, it's an all-or-nothing play for him to essentially save his job.
Last throw of the dice is the
Last
term
throw,
that comes to mind, isn't it? You know. All right, look, as a Dragons fan, let me throw this to you. You got rid of a Lomax, who's a 76% career goal kicker, and you bring in Jaden Sullivan, who's a 68% career goal kicker. Well, you've got 67, and you've got Mbai, who's a career 68% goal kicker.
Look, Lomax. Look, I don't want to get
the stat I didn't throw in
much.
Is that he's only gone 61% this year.
This
right?
year
so,
he's not been great, and there's a lot of chat about the change in kicking tee. Kicking tee has gone from being a very high tee to a low tee. I think if Lomax just sorts out his kicking tee, as a big kicker myself, an NRL standing kicker, I think he's just got to sort out his technique.
Okay.
Wow. I will say that Sullivan interests me a little bit. Like if he's starting, if he is goal kicking, he's slightly awkward price at like 360, something like that. But he's 5'8" hooker, dual position. Yeah, there's some interest there because I'd love to get rid of Sonny Luke.
Yeah.
Hate having him at hooker. He's been a dud by me.
Yeah, same. I actually like it. I think Ben Hunt is probably miles ahead of his teammates at St George. He's just steps and
He's
steps.
the best player. Like, why would you move in position? He's the best
Yeah,
player
but he can kickstart.
in that team by a long way.
You could put him at prop and he'd still be the best player in that team.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just think people people talking about Jack DeBellin, but if he's one off the ruck with Ben Hunt orchestrating, it could be fruitful for the middle forwards.
Jack Bird at 13, so that might help them as well.
Yeah.
Kaino Kinney is a guy who, I may as well just let you talk about this. You talked about it on the SuperCoach Teams podcast on Tuesday that Kaino Kinney is going to debut this weekend. The thing is that Foran's in doubt, so Jaden Campbell potentially to the halves, Kinney to fullback. You picked it, so roll.
I didn't pick it. The Gold Coast Bulletin picked it.
Right. Okay.
To be fair, like I just went and looked at our sister site. And then Trav Main from up in Queensland wrote a nice piece about Kinney, about what a talented schoolboy he was. Look, I hope he goes great. I don't think he's got great prospects because the Titans are just ripped apart by injuries at the moment. You think when the big names are back, then Kinney goes back to Q Cup.
Yeah, I agree.
Wise
Mouthful
move.
at the
I've got you
moment.
both with mouthfuls. Sorry, boys.
I thought that was a good time to have a bite. Charles Nickel-Clockstad, so big watch on him for this weekend, and also on Tohu Harris as well. So keep an eye on late mail for those two. Let's do guilty pleasures. I'll start with mine as Tyrone Peachy. You mentioned the ball hog thing before, and when he plays at centre, he really is a gun for SuperCoach. The issue with him is that he's never really nailed down a position. He's always switching around. He could switch back to the bench. They got some good youngsters there coming through, like Tom Jenkins and Jesse McLean, who could easily come in and take his spot. There are a lot of no's here, but it's Tyrone Peachy. I just love watching him play. He's in there for me. It scored 50-odd in an absolute monsoon over the weekend, so he's my guilty pleasure.
Yeah, I bought it in last week and I was very happy with it. 20-odd runs, yeah, it was a monsoon, as you said, but him, ball in hand, anything can happen. He can grab her and repeat sets as he did on the weekend as well. He'll fend, he'll offload, he'll jink, he'll jerk, he'll zig, he'll zag, he'll do it all, so very SuperCoach friendly for me.
Yep.
No?
Joey, look, I just can't make it work. Yeah. I could go Peachy for the money, but I'm going Joey Manu. He's my guilty pleasure. It's guilty because I like Sam Walker, and I'd like Sam Walker to be back in the team. But as soon as Sam Walker's back in the team, Joey Manu's value diminishes. Doesn't drop right away. He's still a great centre, probably the best centre in the game. But SuperCoach-wise, you want him at 5'8", where he's making 16 runs.
That's right.
And his runs are more productive because it's harder to predict what he's going to do. So, getting Joey Manu is not a smart move. But watching the Roosters without having Joey Manu in my team when Joey Manu's in the halves, that's painful. So I'm getting Joey Manu.
Yeah, I agree with it. Mate, mine's Cody Walker. So I started this show about 3 weeks ago and said Cody Walker's my guilty pleasure, and I bought him in against the Bulldogs, and he turned up for 130-odd. Now they've sort of peaked in price. I'm thinking of selling him and bringing in Dylan Brown, sorry. So
fair enough.
I've got a soft spot for Cody Walker, but I think it might be parting ways this week.
Question from Mitchell Webster asking, would you bring in Peachy for Jackson Ford or Hosking? So two guys who are getting towards their peak. I'm leaning towards holding both, to be honest, and selling someone like Jacob Preston first. What are you guys' thoughts?
Yeah, probably Jackson Ford first. I think there's too much upside in Hoskins' outside Cleary there.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Like, Hoskins got a better work rate, a better base. He's about 50-odd in base. But Ford was, like, this close to scoring 2 tries last week. Yeah. He's running really nice lines. He's not a nickerer, but he's close. Like he's doing really nice stuff on an edge. And Sean Johnson's feeding him really well. If I had to pick between those two, I'd probably sell Ford, having said all these nice things. But I agree. Preston's the guy I'm selling this week.
There's more value in Garner, though, if you want the money.
Hoskin.
Hoskin, sorry.
Yeah, Garner's sitting there behind him, but he was named in New South Wales Cup to start, so I think we're safe for at least one more week.
Okay.
Alexander's saying, my guilty pleasure is watching Sangster smashing down that KFC. Trust me.
Just quietly, I'm enjoying it from a distance too.
It's not even a guilty pleasure, it's just a pleasure.
Admission.
Suwali relevant now that he's kicking goals? I'll put this to the Roosters fan.
I think so, but it's a bit like the Joey Manu situation, that if Sam comes back, then Suwali loses a lot of that value. I'd like to see Suwali back on a wing. I think he's just a better winger than he is a centre, but... Yeah, that's not the question that was raised. As a goal kicker, he's a bloody good goal kicker. Yeah. He kicks it a long way. He's got a nice, clean, sort of Burton-esque style of putting the leg through the ball. Yeah.
Only one try this year for Suwalihi.
Yeah, I don't like him at centre. Yeah. Wing. Yeah, that's where he's going to score him. Yeah.
Yep, or in rugby union. We'll see what happens.
There too.
I spoke about cheapies before. I said there's a lot on the market this week. Let's do cheapie of the week.
That was a good soft transition.
I think we've spoken. Yeah, how good was
the
that?
dipping sauce.
We've been told not to touch those drumsticks as well.
They're beautifully arranged.
They are.
Yeah.
It took about 20 minutes just to set that up, and it's taken us about that to dismantle it. Cheapie of the week, Jareen Buller, we've spoken about. Tyrone Peachy is really popular too. I'm getting both. Max Fianai for next week, though. He looks the goods to me. He's taken over from Lomax. It appears as though Lomax is being taught somewhat of a lesson to sort of maybe get back in his box a little bit, read a little bit less of his press, which means I think Fianai probably gets a decent run in first grade. I've definitely got him on the radar for next week, but not rushing in.
He's on my radar, but my issue is he's Hook dependent, right? Like, you've got to think if Hook loses his job, then everything is up in the air, but they can't leave Lomax on the pine for too long. It's a lot of money. It's a little embarrassing as a recruiting club. I think he's got the longest contract at the club too. He's the only one contracted out to 2025. So you're either going to trade him at a massive loss or paying a lot of his salary to get him off your books, or you're going to get him back on the field, and that's when it becomes an issue. That said, goodbye. Yeah,
he's definitely a first grader, and once he sorts himself out, he'll be good. Fianai's one definitely to watch, probably a last-minute watch, because I think Khan Pereira or Warbrick next week will free up a lot of cash, and it'll be a very, very popular trade, along with Katoa and Olawapu, so definitely watch that one. Yep,
good call. So many cheapies after being a really rough, basically, month for cheapies. We've got a whole bunch coming up.
That's right.
Including Olawapu. Let's elaborate on him a little bit more. I want him starting. I'm hoping that can happen. Maybe not this week, but the next week.
Yeah, I mean, we paid $500,000 transfer fee for him, so they're going to utilise him somehow. I think the ideal scenario probably be 20 to 25 minutes on. After 25 minutes, let the steam, the heat sort of, wear down a little bit, and then he can do his thing. But, geez, so much potential, so much promise for an 18-year-old. It's exciting.
The other thing is, what position is he playing? Is he playing halves, or is he playing as a sort of back row floater, middle floater? And look, he won't be earning dual status for round 12, but does that mean he potentially earns it for round 18?
It's one of those hardest ones the new position of floater is one of the hardest ones for us to assign in SuperCoach. You're seeing a lot of guys who are halves or hookers come in and play a lock role, but they're not named at lock. They don't play at lock, but they're playing as a lock. Yeah. And I think Alopu, well, I mean, that's how he's sold, right? That he's a halfback lock and an Asta. So, he can play that sort of role.
I actually think he'll make a good centre, actually.
Well,
with that running game, but I think you're 5'8", so I think you've nailed it. He's a 5'8".
Yeah. And just to point out as well, we have revealed some of the looming positional changes that are coming up for round 12. You can check out that story on the site. We've got Joey Manu in there, potentially. Tyrone Peachy, there's a lot of water to go under the bridge, but check out that story and see who is in line. For now, though, Trent Copeland's going to be hosting this show next week. Let's do Cope's captains. Right, so I've never seen a captaincy percentage like this since probably the Corey Parker days. Nicho Hines, 75%. that's now with people not even having locked in their teams for the weekend.
Even in the Corey Parker days, you used to have Paul Gallen. There was some competition. I mean, Nico's just killing it at the moment with the goal kicking, the base work, and then all the attacking stats.
Sharks are humming, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're really humming. Yeah, I mean, it's a no-brainer. Captain him, close the app, enjoy the weekend.
Can you go anyone else? Can you go Cleary at 5%, which is basically nothing? We still don't know if he's kicking goals. I think that they will bounce back after that loss over the weekend, but it's not the easiest matchup for them. Is there anyone else even worth considering?
Cleary has to be kicking goals to be considered and locked in at kicking goals.
The side factor is if you want to captain a VC Cleary, you can't go Hines. So I think that pretty much rules him out. Probably Latrell. I mean, he's in form. Yeah. He's doing good things. Or Joey Mona has a good matchup as well, and anything's possible with him.
Latrell's the upside guy. Yeah.
Let's talk VCs. Latrell's pretty common. Hines is at 16% at VC and 75% at captaincy. So it just goes to show how much he is dominating. Let's go just questions till the end of the show.
A lot of questions here. Jack Roberts, Captain Gutho. So thoughts on Gutho, boys? Last game
I
of the round.
like him for the bye coverage. I know that you were saying on the show on Tuesday that this is the best Gutho's ever been, and it's kind of true, but he has been really consistent for a long time. So you're not going to bring him in until the end of the season. You're looking at getting him in for, let's say, 6 weeks, get you through a couple of buys, and then that's it. He's gone. I think he's a good option.
I haven't done many things right this year in SuperCoach, but buying Gutho last week, thankfully, was one of them. Could have easily had 6 tries.
How did you hold on to that this whole show? That's what I would have led with. Jeez, you're a humble man, right? Joe. You're a humble man.
So, for the buys, it's great. Round 14 is probably a bit of an issue, so you want to stock up on too many power plays for round 14, in the buys because it'll cost you around 14. He's push up the middle. He's always pushing up the middle. He's like Tedesco. Whenever there's a half chance, he's always there. And that, I mean, maybe 17 points most times, but he's converted those chances. End of the game, gets them half, does the hard runs as well. So, mate, I don't hate it.
I couldn't captain him. To me, I've got to go Hines. But also, I hate a late captain. I hate it. It's just a heartburn the whole time. And I think Hines is like the third or fourth game. Get it out and get it done with.
Yep. Tim's asking for Feeder as a captain option. So Titans, what's their match? It's a good matchup.
Parramatta.
Late.
Parramatta.
Oh, it's not the easiest matchup.
Yeah.
But it's late in the round.
Form's pretty good. Yeah. He's loving running off Foran. But the Foran's out, right? I think Foran's out this week. Yeah, in doubt.
How about his pass to Camperera?
Lovely.
They've got a good
yeah. He got smashed and just gets up smiling.
That's right.
That was the moment I thought, that's good for Origin because he's doing his work as well. Like you see, he's taking the second hit up off a kick.
And the fancy stuff.
Yeah.
A cheapy question here from Jared is asking Mawale to Wiramu Greg or Dory to Peachy. So Tim Williams also saying that Mawale's probably out for 4 weeks. Yeah. So it makes sense to sell him. You can't really make any money off the trade. Yeah. And Wiramu Greg, I do love him, and I think eye test wise he's been quite good. Supercoach wise, I just don't think he's going to get the minutes. So I'd lean towards getting the better cheapie in Tyrone Peachy.
And Mawale won't cost you any money or AE nightmares. So for me, I've got Mawale. I'm happy to stick him on the pine. Hopefully he comes back, during the buys and can do something. But the money's in Peachy.
A lot of us have a bit of a dog as our second front row forward, or perhaps not a great second front row forward. So if you were going to play the loophole, that's a good place to play it. So having a non-playing front rower is a good place to have one.
That's right.
The other thing I'd say, like Greg, his minutes are going to be okay, I think, Tommy, while Campbell Gillard's out. He played about 40 minutes and 49 points or something like that. But that's the max, right? Whereas if you're going to go a cheapie, you go the upside guy in Peachy, who can score 75, 80 in any game.
That's right.
A lot of chat coming through about Rob's schnitzel sandwich.
The kids got schnitty sangers. They were pretty happy. It's when I do a late start. It's happy days,
We've got the Colonel here, and Rob's brought a schnitzel sandwich in for a chicken double up.
A lot of questions here about drink water.
Drink water.
Just drink water. So if for Walsh to drink water,
not for me. He goes on a run, sort of a couple of times a year, maybe, and you just have to time it perfectly to get on. So it's not for me.
For me, the Cowboys' form is just pretty poor. So their forwards aren't rolling forward, which is what he needs. So
you made all this money on Walsh, right? And you banked those points. Go again. Go to a Latrell. Go to a Gutho. Yeah. Keep it going with maybe slightly more reliable than Drinkwater. Yeah.
I agree.
And Jack's asking, can you elaborate on the best 13 situation for Origin rounds? So that's the new rule coming in this year. You pick a 17, and then the best 13 comes from there. So one of the big questions coming through is, do you get 3 auto emergencies? No, you won't really need that because you pick a 17 and you still only get the 1 auto emergency.
Will the VC loophole work in that buy round?
I am assuming it will.
I think it will, but if your captaincy pick is outside of your scoring best 13, then I think you get the vice captain, as long as they're inside the top 13. If both of them are outside your best scoring 13, I think you get no captain. That's my understanding.
There you go.
Yeah. We'll check on that.
We'll check on that for sure. And final question, Val to Mulatalo, who's... Look, a lot hinges on Nico Hines in that team, so I'm a little bit tempted to avoid guys other than Hines, given that Hines probably plays Origin.
Yeah, well, Mulatalo bombed 2 tries in 2 weeks. Wide open. You've got to take your pick with the Sharks outside backs. So Talakai, even a Katoa on the right hand side is a great finisher. I don't hate it.
I don't hate it. I had a really good look at... When I got Joey Manu, the 2 I really considered were Mulatalo and Johnson. I feel maybe Johnston's the one I should be picking, but I'm going Manu, but geez, Mulatalo's strike rate is phenomenal. And as you say, he's butchered too, right? So he could have had more.
Yeah.
Right, let's finish with what's potentially a zinger. I'm not sure yet. Ron's twin, I'm assuming that's Rob's twin, is in the sports bet ad, the Bet With Mates ad, and Rob is with the glasses. Do you know that?
I know nothing about that, but if my intellectual property rights have been infringed, I can tell you my lawyers will be in touch.
There's a claim.
Absolutely. Well, massive thanks to KFC. Big thanks to our panel. We'll catch you next week for the Teams podcast. See you then.